Captain Lee Tejo stretched his arms and looked out the window of his ship. The stars looked beautiful against the dark space. His ship, the New Soul, was not very big. It had only 20 people on it. They were exploring space far from Earth, looking for new things to discover. "Captain, we found something interesting," said Kim So-ra from her seat. She was the person who watched for danger and other ships. Her screen showed a bright cloud of gas and dust ahead of them. "What is it?" asked Tejo, walking over to look at her screen. "It looks like a nebula, a really pretty one too. The colors are amazing," So-ra said with excitement. "I think we should take some pictures and study it." Park Jin-woo, the ship's engineer, looked up from his work. "The ship is running perfectly, Captain. We have enough fuel and supplies to stay here for a few days if you want." Tejo smiled. This was why he loved being in space. Every day brought something new to see. "Okay, let's go take a closer look. Choi Min-ae, can you record everything? Earth will want to see this." Min-ae, who handled all their communications, nodded. "Already started, Captain. This is going to make a great report." The New Soul moved slowly toward the colorful nebula. Nobody on the ship knew they had just entered territory that belonged to someone else. The space around them looked empty, just like all the other places they had been. Far away, on a much larger ship, alarms started ringing. Commander Veltar Omnicus looked at his screen with surprise. His ship was 3 times bigger than the New Soul, and it was built for war. "Commander," said one of his officers, "an unknown ship has entered our space. They crossed the borderline 5 minutes ago." Veltar's eyes grew wide. In all his years of service, no one had ever dared to enter Veltharan Empire territory without permission. His people had ruled this part of space for hundreds of years. Everyone knew to stay away. "What kind of ship is it?" Veltar asked. "Small, Commander, but we cannot identify the design. It does not match any ship in our records." Veltar thought for a moment. Maybe this was a test. Maybe some enemy was trying to see how quickly the Veltharans would respond. "Get 2 more ships and follow me. We will intercept them." Back on the New Soul, Park Jin-woo was taking readings of the nebula when his instruments started beeping. "Captain, I'm picking up 3 ships coming toward us. They're big." Tejo looked at the screen. 3 large, dark ships were flying straight at them. They looked like military ships, but he had never seen designs like these before. "Maybe they're from a colony we don't know about," he said. Min-ae tried to talk to them. Min-ae pressed some buttons on her communication panel. "Hello, unknown ships. This is the Earth ship New Soul. We're just here to study the nebula. Can you hear us?" On Veltar's ship, the officers looked at each other with confusion. The message was polite and friendly. This was not how invaders usually talked. "Tell them they have entered sacred Veltharan space without permission," Veltar ordered. "They must leave immediately, or face punishment." The message came through to the New Soul. Min-ae translated it and told the captain. Tejo scratched his head. "Sacred space? I didn't know space could be sacred. Min-ae, tell them we're sorry. We didn't know this area belonged to anyone." When Veltar heard the human response, he became even more confused. Either these beings were very stupid, or they were playing some kind of game with him. "Captain," So-ra said, looking at her instruments, "their weapons are not powered up. They're not trying to attack us." Tejo nodded. "That's good. Min-ae, ask them if we can just finish taking some readings. We'll leave when we're done. Maybe offer to share our data with them." Veltar could not believe what he was hearing. These strangers were offering to share information with them as if they were friends meeting at a market. No enemy had ever acted like this before. "Sir," one of his officers whispered, "what if they are telling the truth? What if they really don't know about our territory?" Veltar had been trained for many different kinds of battles, but never for this situation. "Keep watching them," he ordered, "but do not fire unless they attack first." On the New Soul, Park Jin-woo was enjoying himself. "Captain, look at this. One of their ships has an engine problem. I can see it on my scanners." "What kind of problem?" asked Tejo. "The same kind we had last month. Remember when our engine kept making that weird noise? Their engine is doing the same thing." So-ra looked interested. "Should we tell them how we fixed it?" Taeho thought about it. These beings seemed to be just watching them, not trying to hurt them. Maybe they could help. Minnie, ask them if they want to know how to fix their engine problem. When the message came through to Veltar's ship, the entire crew fell silent. The strangers wanted to help them fix their ship. This was the most unusual invasion in Veltharan history. "Commander," said the engineer, "they are right about the engine. We have been having problems with it for days." Veltar made a decision that would later seem very important. Let them help us. For the next 2 hours, Park Jin-woo explained over the radio how to fix the engine problem. It was a simple solution that the Veltharan engineers had never tried before. When their engine started working perfectly again, they were amazed. "This is impossible," Veltar said to himself. "No enemy helps their target. No invader fixes their ships." Taeho's voice came over the radio again. "Is your engine working better now? We're almost done with our readings here. Thanks for letting us visit your space. You have a really beautiful nebula here." Veltar did not know what to say. In all his training, no one had ever taught him how to deal with friendly invaders who complimented their territory and fixed their equipment. "Commander," his communication officer asked, "should we arrest them?" Veltar looked at the small human ship. They were still taking peaceful readings of the nebula, just like they said they would. They had not tried to scan his weapons or steal any information. They had even helped repair his ship. "Let them finish," he said finally. "But keep watching them." 2 hours later, the new soul sent one final message. "Thank you for your patience. We're heading home now. It was nice to meet you. Take care of that beautiful nebula." And with that, the human ship turned around and flew away, leaving Veltar and his crew staring after them in complete confusion. "Sir," asked one officer, "what do we tell headquarters about this?" Veltar was quiet for a long time. How could he explain that they had just met the strangest invaders in galactic history? Invaders who said please and thank you, fixed their ships, and complimented their nebula? "Tell them," he said slowly, "that we need to learn more about these humans." High Admiral Thexvar read the report 3 times before putting it down on his desk. He was the most powerful military leader in the Veltharan Empire, and in his long career, he had never read anything like this. "They helped fix our ship?" He asked Commander Veltar, who stood in front of his desk. "Yes, sir, they knew exactly what was wrong with our engine. The repair worked perfectly." Thexvar walked to the big window in his office and looked out at the stars. "And they said please and thank you?" "Many times, sir. They were very polite." The High Admiral turned around. His face was serious. "This is clearly a new kind of warfare, Commander. These humans are trying to confuse us with kindness. They want us to think they are harmless." Veltar was not sure about this. "Sir, they seemed genuinely surprised that the space belonged to us. Maybe they really didn't know." "No." Thexvar hit his desk with his hand. "No species becomes advanced enough for space travel without learning about territory and borders. This is psychological warfare, Commander. They are testing our defenses." Meanwhile, the new soul was flying toward another star system, completely unaware of the conversation happening in the Veltharan capital. Captain Lee Tae-ho was reading reports from other human exploration ships. "Captain," said Dr. Han Yu-jin, their scientist who studied alien life, "we've received some interesting data from the Dijon. They found what looks like mining equipment on an asteroid." "Mining equipment? What kind?" "Advanced stuff. Much better than what we have on Earth. Captain Ro Kyung-ho thinks it might belong to the same people we met at the nebula." Tae-ho was interested. "Maybe we should go take a look. If we run into them again, we can ask about it." 2 days later, the new soul found the mining station. It was built into a large asteroid and had several small ships around it. But something was wrong. One of the ships was sending out a distress signal. "Captain," said Kim So-ra, "that ship is in trouble. Their life support system is failing. Can we help them?" asked Tae-ho. Park Jin-woo checked his instruments. "Yes, sir, I think so. It looks like the same problem we had on the lunar station last year." Minay, try to contact them. The message went out to the Veltheran mining ship. On board, the crew was working hard to fix their air system before it completely stopped working. When they heard the human voice offering help, they were shocked. This is Captain Lee Taeho of the New Soul. We can see you're having problems with your life support. We've fixed this kind of problem before. Can we help? The Veltheran captain, whose name was Korthvex, did not know what to do. He had heard stories about the strange humans, but he never expected to meet them. His crew was in real danger, though. We would appreciate any help, he said finally. For the next 4 hours, Park Jin-woo and another engineer named Oh Seong-min worked with the Veltheran crew to fix their air system. The humans explained each step carefully and shared their repair techniques freely. Dr. Han Yu-jin also got permission to visit the mining station. She was very excited to meet the Veltheran scientists who worked there. She asked many questions about their mining methods and shared information about human mining techniques. Your rock analysis is very good, she told them. But have you tried using sonic resonance to find metal deposits? It works really well on asteroids like this one. The Veltheran scientists were amazed. The human techniques were different from theirs, but very effective. They spent hours comparing notes and sharing ideas. When the repairs were finished, Captain Korthvex was grateful. Thank you for your help. You saved my crew. No problem, said Taeho. That's what neighbors do, right? Help each other out. But when High Admiral Thexvar heard about this second encounter, he became even more worried. They're gathering intelligence, he told his war council. First they study our territory, then they examine our industrial operations. They're learning about our mining capabilities and our technology. Sir, said General Morthtek, they also helped repair the mining ship. Why would enemies do that? Thexvar paced around the room. To gain our trust, they want us to think they are friends, and then they will attack when we least expect it. This is a very clever strategy. He pointed to the star map on the wall. Look at their movements. First the nebula, then the mining station. They are mapping our territory step by step. The truth was, the human ships were just following interesting readings on their instruments. When something looked worth studying, they went to look at it. They had no idea they were in anybody's territory. 3 weeks later, another human ship, the Incheon, commanded by Captain Park Sang-woo, stumbled upon a Veltheran research station. The scientists there were studying a strange type of radiation coming from a nearby star. Dr. Seo Ji-hoon, the cultural specialist on the Incheon, was fascinated by the Veltheran research. This is amazing work, he told the station commander. On Earth, we call this kind of radiation solar wind variance. Have you considered using magnetic field measurements to predict the changes? The Veltheran researchers had never heard of this technique. When they tried it, their predictions became much more accurate. They were so excited that they invited Dr. Seo to give a presentation to their entire research team. During his talk, Dr. Seo also shared some human music and showed pictures of Earth. The Veltheran scientists were very interested in human culture. They had never seen anything like human art and music before. Your people create sounds for pleasure? Asked one scientist. We call it music, said Dr. Seo. It makes us feel good. Do your people not have music? The Veltherans looked at each other. They had never thought about creating sounds just for enjoyment. Captain Park Sang-woo also offered to trade some human food for Veltheran data crystals. Our cook makes really good kimchi, he said. Maybe your people would like to try it. The cultural exchange was going very well until a Veltheran military patrol arrived. When they saw humans on the research station, sharing food and teaching their scientists new techniques, they immediately reported it to headquarters. High Admiral Thexvar was furious when he heard the report. Now they're infiltrating our research stations. They're stealing our scientific data and poisoning our researchers with their cultural propaganda. Sir, said his aide, the research station reported that the humans actually improved their work. Their new prediction method is much better than the old one. Don't you see? Thexvar shouted. That's exactly what they want us to think. They give us small improvements so we trust them, and then they steal all our important secrets. He turned to his war council. I want 3 full battle fleets prepared immediately. We cannot let these humans continue their invasion of our territory. Sir, asked General Morthtek carefully. Are we declaring war? Thexvar looked at the reports on his desk. The humans had now entered Veltharan space 4 times. They had interacted with military ships, mining operations, and research stations. In his mind, this was clearly a coordinated intelligence operation. No, he said. We are responding to a war that has already begun. These humans think they can fool us with their friendly act, but I see through their strategy. He pointed to the star map. Send the battle fleets to these coordinates. When the humans return, we will be ready for them. What the High Admiral did not know was that Captain Lee Taeho was planning to return to the Nebula area the next week. The New Soul's crew had found some interesting energy readings in their data, and they wanted to study them more carefully. It should be a nice, peaceful trip, Taeho told his crew. We can finish our research and maybe say hello to our Veltharan friends again. None of them had any idea that 3 battle fleets were moving into position, preparing for what High Admiral Thexvar was calling the final confrontation with the human invasion force. The misunderstanding was growing bigger every day, and soon it would become something that nobody expected. Admiral Bae Soo-jin was drinking her morning coffee when the emergency message came through. She commanded all of Earth's space defense ships, which was not very many. Earth had 12 exploration vessels and 8 cargo ships. That was their entire space fleet. Admiral, said her communication officer, we're getting worried reports from our exploration ships. Captain Lee Tae-ho says large alien fleets are gathering near his position. Bae Soo-jin put down her coffee cup. How large? Hundreds of ships, ma'am. Much bigger than anything we've ever seen. The Admiral thought about this. Earth's military consisted of some satellites and a few defense stations around the moon. If these aliens wanted to fight, Earth was not ready for a war. Send a message to all our ships, she said. Tell them to be careful, but keep exploring. Maybe these aliens just want to talk. At the same time, High Admiral Thexvar was in his command ship, leading the largest battle fleet in Veltharan history. 300 warships were spread across space, waiting for the human invasion force that he was sure would come. Sir, reported his intelligence officer, our scouts have found the human stronghold. Thexvar looked at the screen. The stronghold was actually Research Station Busan 2, where Professor Nam Ho-seok and 8 other people were studying rocks from asteroids. It was not a military base, it was just a small station with some laboratories. How many ships are defending it? Asked Thexvar. None that we can detect, sir. But that might mean their ships are hidden. Thexvar nodded. Of course, they're using stealth technology. Very clever. He had no idea that the humans had no stealth technology and no hidden ships. Professor Nam Ho-seok was looking at rock samples under his microscope when his assistant, Dr. Kim Yoo-jin, ran into the laboratory. Professor, you need to see this. There are hundreds of alien ships outside. Nam Ho-seok looked out the window and whistled. Wow, that's impressive. Why do you think they're all here? I don't know, but they look like military ships. The professor scratched his head. Maybe. They're having some kind of parade or celebration. Should we say hello? Dr. Kim was not sure this was a good idea, but Professor Nam was already walking to the communication panel. Hello, alien ships, he said into the microphone. This is Research Station Busan 2. Welcome to our area of space. We're just studying rocks here. Would anyone like some coffee? We just made a fresh pot. On Thexvar's command ship, every officer stared at the communication screen. The human commander was inviting them for coffee. This was either the bravest thing they had ever heard, or the most confident. Sir, whispered his aide. What should we do? Thexvar was thinking hard. If the humans were this calm with 300 warships outside their base, they must have incredible weapons hidden somewhere. Begin scanning for their hidden fleet, he ordered. Use every sensor we have. The Veltharan ship scanned space around the research station for 6 hours. They found nothing except some mining equipment and a few communication satellites. Sir, reported the sensor officer, we can't find any ships. Either they have perfect stealth technology or what? Or there really aren't any ships, sir. Thexvar refused to believe this. Keep scanning. They must be there. Back on the research station, Professor Nam and his team continued their work. Sometimes they looked out the window at the alien ships and waved. They thought the aliens were just curious about their research. "Dr. Kim," said the professor, "send them our rock analysis data. Maybe they're interested in geology too." When the research data arrived on Thexvar's ship, his intelligence team spent hours trying to decode it. They were sure it was military information disguised as scientific data. "This appears to be mineral composition analysis," said the intelligence chief. "Obviously a code," said Thexvar. "What do you think it really means? Perhaps battle formation instructions?" Meanwhile, at another location, the human ship Daejeon was trying to avoid the alien fleets. Captain Ro Kyung-ho did not want to cause any trouble, so he was taking a longer route back to Earth. But his engineer, Lim Da-yoon, was having problems with the ship's maintenance systems. She was working on the life support filters when she accidentally activated the emergency communication system. "Testing, testing," she said into the microphone. "Okay, the audio is working. Now checking air filter system. Filter 1 is clean. Filter 2 needs replacement. Filter 3 is... Wait, is this thing broadcasting?" Her voice was being transmitted on all frequencies. Every Velthuran ship in the area heard her maintenance checklist. Life support is good. Engine temperature normal. Fuel levels at 87%. Jinwoo, did you fix that noise in the recycling unit? It's been driving me crazy for weeks. On Thexvar's command ship, his top code breakers worked frantically to understand the message. "She mentioned fuel levels and engine status," said one analyst. "This could be a fleet status report." "And she asked about recycling unit noise," said another. "Maybe that's code for weapon systems." Thexvar studied the transcript. "She said the fuel is at 87%. That means their fleet is almost ready for battle." The truth was that Lim Da-yoon was just doing her regular maintenance work, and the ship's recycling unit really was making an annoying noise. But the situation got even more confusing when Captain Ro decided to send a formal message to the alien fleets. "This is Captain Ro Kyung-ho of the Earth ship Daejeon. We don't want any trouble. We're just trying to get home. Is there somewhere we should go so we don't get in your way?" When Thexvar heard this message, he was sure it was a trick. "They're asking about our defensive positions," he told his officers. "They want to know where our ships are so they can avoid our strongest areas and attack our weakest points." "Should we tell them, sir?" "Absolutely not. This confirms that they're planning an attack." The misunderstanding grew worse when more human ships tried to help. The exploration vessel Seoul sent a message offering medical supplies to any alien ships that might need them. The cargo ship Jeju offered to share food with the alien crews. "They're trying to poison us," declared Thexvar. "First, they offer medical supplies to make us weak, then they offer food to complete the job." His war council was getting confused. "Sir, why would they announce their plan to poison us? Because they think we're stupid." Thexvar was getting more and more frustrated. "They think we won't understand their psychological warfare tactics." The final straw came when Captain Park Sang-woo of the Incheon decided to try music as a way to communicate. He had heard that music was a universal language, so he started broadcasting human songs on all frequencies. The first song was a cheerful K-pop tune with a catchy beat. When it reached the Velthuran ships, the crews had no idea what they were hearing. Velthurans had never experienced music before. The sounds made them feel strange. Some felt excited, others felt sad, and a few felt like dancing even though they didn't know what dancing was. "Sir," reported the communication officer, his voice shaking. "The humans are using some kind of sonic weapon. It's affecting the crews. Minds." Thexvar listened to the music for 30 seconds before turning it off. He felt confused and emotionally unstable, which was exactly how the humans wanted him to feel. "This is their secret weapon," he said to his council. "They use sound to control our thoughts and emotions. What should we do, sir?" Thexvar looked at his fleet status reports. Half his ships reported that their crews were acting strangely after hearing the human broadcasts. Some ships reported that their crews were trying to move their bodies in rhythm with the sounds. "We're dealing with a more advanced enemy than I thought," he said. "They have weapons we cannot understand." Prepare for immediate retreat to defensive positions. As the Veltharan fleet began to withdraw, Professor Nam Ho-seok sent one last message from his research station. "Hey, alien friends, thanks for visiting. You guys have really cool ships, come back anytime. And seriously, the coffee offer is always open." Thexvar heard the message as his fleet retreated. The human commander was taunting him, showing no fear even as hundreds of warships fled from his position. "They're laughing at us," he said quietly. "They defeated our entire fleet without firing a single shot." But on Research Station Busan 2, Professor Nam just shrugged and went back to studying his rock samples. He had no idea that he had just won the first battle in a war that nobody understood. The war was going very badly for the Veltharan Empire, and they did not understand why. High Admiral Thexvar sat in his command room, looking at reports that made no sense. In the past month, the humans had somehow cut off supply lines to 12 Veltharan bases. They had disrupted 3 major military exercises. They had even convinced several Veltharan commanders to surrender their positions without a fight. The problem was, the humans had not actually done any of these things on purpose. It started when Shin Woo-jin, the supply officer for the human mining operation, received new orders from Earth. The mining ships were supposed to move to different asteroid fields because the old ones were getting too dangerous with all the alien military activity in the area. Shin Woo-jin looked at his maps and picked new locations that seemed safe and far from the alien ships. He had no idea that by moving his ships he was blocking the supply routes that the Veltharan military used to send food and equipment to their bases. "Just move the mining ships to these coordinates," he told his pilots. "Stay away from those areas where all the alien fleets are gathered." The mining ships moved to their new positions and started working. They were peaceful cargo vessels with no weapons, but they were sitting right on top of the Veltharan Empire's most important supply lines. When Veltharan supply ships tried to deliver food to their military bases, they found the routes blocked by human mining operations. "Sir," reported a confused Veltharan captain, "the humans have put mining ships on all our supply routes. They're not attacking us, but we can't get past them." Thexvar studied the tactical map. The human positions were perfect. They had blocked every major supply line with what appeared to be innocent mining operations. "Brilliant," he said to his officers. "They're starving our bases without firing a shot. This is advanced strategic thinking." At the same time, young communications officer Jang Eun-soo was trying to solve a different problem. All the military activity in space was making people nervous, and he thought music might help everyone relax. "Captain Park," he said to Captain Park Sang-woo, "what if we broadcast some calming music on all frequencies? Maybe it will help reduce tensions." Captain Park thought this was a good idea. "Sure, go ahead. Pick something peaceful." Jang Eun-soo chose a variety of human music. He included everything from soft classical pieces to traditional Korean folk songs, from jazz to modern pop ballads. He broadcast the music 24 hours a day on every frequency he could find. The effect on the Veltharan military was devastating. Their crews had never experienced music before, and the sounds were affecting their minds in ways they could not understand. Listening to a sad love song made Veltharan soldiers feel depressed and homesick. Hearing an energetic dance song made them want to move around instead of standing at their battle stations. Classical music made them feel thoughtful and peaceful, which was not good for warriors preparing for battle. "Sir," reported one ship captain, "my crew is acting very strange. Yesterday, half of them were crying for no reason. Today, they keep trying to make rhythmic sounds with their equipment." Another captain reported, "My weapons officer says he doesn't want to fight anymore. He wants to create beautiful things instead." Thexvar realized that the human sonic weapons were more powerful than he had feared. They were not just confusing his crews, they were changing their fundamental nature as warriors. "How many ships have been affected?" he asked. "All of them, sir. Every ship that has heard the human broadcast is showing signs of emotional instability." The situation got worse when Captain Ro Kyung-ho decided to make a personal diplomatic visit. He had heard that the alien fleets were acting strangely, and he thought maybe a face-to-face meeting would help solve whatever problem was happening. "I'm going to fly over to their biggest ship and just talk to them," he told his crew. Maybe. We can figure out what's going on. Sir, said his security officer, is that safe? They have hundreds of warships out there. They haven't attacked us yet, said Rowe. Besides, if they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already. I think they just want to communicate. Captain Rowe took a small shuttle with no weapons and no escorts. He flew straight toward Thexvar's massive command ship, broadcasting friendly greetings the entire way. Hello, alien friends, this is Captain Rowe Kyung-ho. I'm coming over to chat. Please don't be alarmed, I'm not armed and I'm traveling alone. On the command ship, Thexvar and his officers watched the small shuttle approach. They could not believe what they were seeing. Sir, said his tactical officer, it's just one small ship. No weapons, no escort, no support fleet. He's coming here completely defenseless. Thexvar stared at the screen. This was either the most foolish thing he had ever seen, or the most confident. No military commander would approach an enemy fleet alone unless he was absolutely certain of victory. This must be their final move, Thexvar said quietly. They're so sure they've won that their commander is coming to accept our surrender personally. What should we do, sir? Thexvar thought about his situation. His supply lines were cut. His crews were emotionally compromised by sonic weapons. His defensive positions had been outmaneuvered by human mining operations. And now the enemy commander was approaching to finish the battle. Let him dock, he said. We'll hear what terms he offers. Back on Earth, President An Mi-young was in a budget meeting when her military advisor brought her the latest reports from space. Ma'am, our exploration ships are reporting some unusual alien activity. Large fleets gathering in several areas. President An looked at the files. Are they threatening our ships? Not exactly, ma'am. Our captains say the aliens seem confused about something. A few of them have even asked for help with technical problems. Well, that doesn't sound too bad. Tell our people to be helpful but careful. Yes, ma'am. Also, Admiral Bae Soo-jin is requesting a small budget increase for the space exploration program. She says we might need more ships if we're going to keep making contact with alien civilizations. President An signed the budget approval without really reading it. She was more worried about the education budget than space exploration. Meanwhile, in space, the misunderstandings were reaching their peak. Captain Rowe had docked with the Veltharan command ship and was having the most confusing conversation of his life with High Admiral Thexvar. So, said Captain Rowe, sitting in the alien conference room with a cup of coffee, what exactly is the problem here? My crew and I just want to get home safely. Thexvar studied the human commander. He was young, calm, and seemed genuinely confused by the question. You have invaded our territory? Thexvar said carefully. You have disrupted our operations and used psychological warfare on our crews. Psychological warfare? Captain Rowe looked surprised. You mean the music? That was just supposed to be relaxing. Did you guys not like it? Thexvar felt his strategic training breaking down. Either this human was the greatest actor in the galaxy, or he really had no idea what was happening. Your ships have blocked our supply lines, Thexvar continued. Oh, the mining ships? Yeah, we moved those because there were so many military vessels in the old areas. We thought you wanted us to stay out of your way. Thexvar was beginning to feel a strange sensation in his chest. It took him several minutes to realize that he was starting to doubt his own analysis of the situation. Your research station defeated. An entire battle fleet without weapons, he said, testing the human's reaction. Captain Rowe laughed. You mean Professor Nam's rock lab? That's hilarious. He probably invited you all for coffee, didn't he? He does that with everyone. The sound that came from Captain Rowe was something Thexvar had heard in the human music broadcasts, but never from a living being. It was the sound humans made when they found something amusing, and for the first time in his military career, High Admiral Thexvar began to wonder if he had made a terrible mistake. 3 hours into the most important military meeting in Veltharan history, Captain Lee Tae-ho started laughing. He could not help it. The situation was just too ridiculous to believe. High Admiral Thexvar sat across from him in the conference room of the massive Veltharan command ship. Between them sat Dr. Seo Ji-hoon, the human cultural specialist, and a thermos of coffee that was almost empty. For the past 3 hours, Thexavar had been explaining his analysis of the human invasion strategy. He had charts, tactical maps, and detailed intelligence reports. He had explained how the humans had used psychological warfare, supply line disruption, and advanced stealth technology to defeat the Veltheran Empire. The more Thexavar explained, the more confused Captain Lee became. Finally, when the Admiral described how the humans had used sonic mind control weapons to devastate his fleet, Lee could not contain his laughter anymore. "I'm sorry," Lee said, wiping tears from his eyes. "I'm not laughing at you, Admiral. I'm laughing at this whole situation. Do you really think we've been at war this whole time?" Thexavar looked hurt and confused. "Are you saying you have not been conducting military operations against my empire?" "No," Lee said, still chuckling. "We didn't even know your empire existed until 3 months ago. We've just been exploring space and trying to be friendly with everyone we meet." Dr. Seo opened his communication device and called up some files. "Admiral, let me show you something. Ko Min-jun, can you hear me?" The voice of communications specialist Ko Min-jun came through the device. "Yes, Dr. Seo, how's the meeting going?" "Ko, can you tell the Admiral what you and Lim Da-un were arguing about yesterday?" "Oh, that? We were arguing about whose turn it is to clean the recycling unit. That thing has been making noise for weeks, and nobody wants to fix it because it smells terrible." Dr. Seo looked at Thexavar. "Admiral, your intelligence team thought this conversation was a coded military communication." Thexavar stared at the device. "You mean the strategic status reports about fuel levels and weapon systems were actually arguments about cleaning duty and maintenance schedules," Lee confirmed. "Ko, can you also explain to the Admiral why Captain Park started broadcasting music?" Ko's voice sounded confused. "Music? Oh, that was Zhang Yunsu's idea. He thought everyone seemed stressed out by all the military ships flying around, so he wanted to play some relaxing music to help people calm down. Your sonic weapons," Dr. Seo explained gently to Thexavar, "were actually a young communications officer trying to reduce tension with K-pop and classical music." Thexavar sat in silence for several minutes. The greatest military mind in the Veltheran Empire was trying to process the fact that his entire war strategy had been based on a complete misunderstanding. "But your supply line disruptions," he said weakly. Lee nodded. "Shin Woo-jin moved our mining ships because he was worried about all your military exercises. He thought you wanted us to stay out of your way, so he found empty areas of space where we wouldn't bother anyone. And the research station that defeated my battle fleet. Professor Nam Hoseok probably offered you coffee and asked if you wanted to see his rock collection," Lee said with a smile. "He's been studying geology his whole life. He gets really excited when he meets new people who might be interested in minerals." Thexavar put his head in his hands. "So when your Captain Rowe approached my command ship alone, he was just trying to figure out why everyone seemed confused," Dr. Seo finished. "He thought maybe a face-to-face conversation would help solve whatever communication problem was happening." The room fell quiet, except for the soft humming of the ship's systems. Thexavar was experiencing something that had never happened to him before in his long military career. He was starting to see how completely wrong he had been about everything. "Admiral," Lee said gently, "if you had just asked us to leave your territory, we probably would have. We didn't know it belonged to anyone. But your advanced technology," Thexavar said, "your engineering knowledge, your scientific techniques, we shared those because we thought you were friendly neighbors," Dr. Seo explained. "On Earth, when we meet new people, we try to help them and learn from them. It's just how we are." Thexavar looked up at the two humans. "You mean you have been genuinely trying to be helpful this entire time?" "Of course," said Lee. "What else would we do?" And then something extraordinary happened. High Admiral Thexavar, Supreme Military Commander of the Veltheran Empire, began to make a sound that no Veltheran had ever made before. It started as a small noise in his throat, then grew into a deep, rolling sound that shook his entire body. He was laughing. The other Veltheran officers in the room stared at their commander in shock. They had never heard such a sound from any Veltheran before, but somehow it felt right. "I cannot believe Thexvar said between laughs, that the greatest military campaign in our history was defeated by people who just wanted to be nice to us. Lee started laughing again too. And I can't believe we accidentally invaded an entire empire just because we wanted to look at a pretty nebula. Dr. Seo was taking notes. This is going to be a very interesting first contact report. Outside the conference room, word was spreading through the Veltharan fleet. Their supreme commander was making strange sounds, and somehow the other beings were making the same sounds, and everybody seemed happy about it. Captain Park Sang-woo's voice came over the communication system. Hey Lee, how's the meeting going? Also, has anyone figured out whose turn it is to clean the recycling unit? Because it's really starting to smell. This made both Lee and Thexvar laugh even harder. Admiral, Lee said when he could talk again, I think we should start over. Let me properly introduce humanity to the Veltharan Empire. 3 days later, Dr. An Se-young arrived from Earth as humanity's first official interstellar ambassador. She found a very different situation than anyone had expected. Veltharan and human crews were working together on joint projects. Human engineers were teaching Veltharan mechanics new repair techniques. Veltharan scientists were sharing their advanced astronomy knowledge with human researchers. Most importantly, Veltharan military officers were learning about something completely new to their culture, the concept of humor. You mean, asked one Veltharan officer, humans make these sounds called jokes just to make other beings feel happy? Captain Ro Kyung-ho nodded. That's right. Want to hear one? Why don't aliens ever land at airports? The Veltharan thought about this seriously. Because they do not use the same navigation systems as human aircraft? No, said Ro with a grin. Because they're looking for space. It took the Veltharan a few seconds to understand the wordplay, but when he did, he made the same laughing sound that Thexvar had discovered. Soon, several Veltharan officers were trying to create their own jokes. Ambassador An Se-young established what she called the Treaty of Mutual Confusion. The agreement stated that both species would try to communicate clearly in the future, and that most conflicts could probably be solved by asking simple questions instead of making assumptions. The treaty also established cultural exchange programs, joint exploration missions, and a new rule that said all interstellar diplomatic meetings must include coffee. 6 months later, the Veltharan Empire had learned to laugh, and humanity had accidentally become a major galactic power. Not through conquest or advanced technology, but through the simple act of being friendly to everyone they met. High Admiral Thexvar, who now insisted that everyone call him by his first name, which was very difficult for humans to pronounce, became the first Veltharan to learn how to make coffee. He was not very good at it, but he enjoyed trying. You know, he said to Captain Lee during one of their regular meetings, I spent my whole career preparing for war with advanced enemies. I never thought I would be defeated by people who just wanted to be friends. Lee smiled and raised his coffee cup. Here's to the most successful failed invasion in galactic history. Thexvar raised his cup too, though he still made a face when he tasted his own coffee. And here's to learning that the universe is much more friendly than we thought. Outside the station windows, human and Veltharan ships worked together, exploring the galaxy and discovering that most problems could be solved with patience, kindness, and a really good cup of coffee.